As we all know, most all places are now transitioning into fall weather here in the United States at least. So I have a question for you. Do you live in a climate where weather can be very chilly in the morning, but then in the afternoon it'll warm up by about 20 degrees or so? Or do you live in a climate where you don't need to wear heavy outwear, but you still need a little something to keep you warm? Well, if you answered yes to either of those questions, this video is for you, and I will also give you bonus tips on how you can turn these patterns that I will be sharing from basic to glam. Hello friends, and thank you so much for stopping by the channel. My name is Talisha and I also go by CreativiTeeByT, and if you're new to watching the channel, I welcome you and I hope you consider subscribing, and thank you to all of my returning subscribers for your continued support. So today I will be sharing 5 must-have traditional outwear patterns that are easy to sew projects, and I will also share how you can spice the looks up to be glam. So within the 5 patterns that I will be sharing, I have sewn 3 of them, and I plan to make all 3 again this fall. Yes, so while I am in between projects, I think because they are so easy, they will be nice little projects to make, and that's because they are just that simple. So without further ado, let's get into these patterns. So for the first pattern that I want to share, this is Simplicity 8219. I have made this up before and it is a beauty. Okay, I'm talking about top shelf glam. The pattern description for this pattern is Mrs. Line vest in 3 lengths and a scarf. This pattern is advertised as being able to be made in 2 hours, and I definitely agree with that because I did it, and it may have been even less. I made this for myself back in 2020, and I thought this vest was like all that and a bag of chips. I love the fur look, and I found a nice lightweight fur that was perfect. I wore this vest around and I received so many compliments. I mean, I put on a pair of jeans with the turtleneck to go to the grocery store, and then I put this vest on and it was like glam city. Okay, and the amount of compliments I received from going to that one store just truly amazed me because I didn't expect it. Now, why did I receive so many compliments? I'll tell you why. Simplistic glam. Okay, this is a very simple pattern. It has no shaping, as you can see, because it's very boxy, but the fur does it all. The fur stole the show. Okay, simple glam that will have you looking like someone's rich auntie, even in the grocery store. Now, although there is a lot of good to this pattern, there was one major issue in my opinion. The only issue is that this pattern runs very big. Very, very big, and I felt like I was swimming in it, and I was a little self-conscious because I thought the oversized look was like way noticeable. So I wore it around a little while longer, and I noticed that like I would try to like cover my armholes, you know, by clenching my arms to, you know, my sides to make sure that people wouldn't see how big the armholes were, you know, compared to my body. And after doing that for a while, I just thought to myself, why am I doing this? Like, I can just make another one, right? I mean, yeah. So I gave it to my sister-in-law, whose size was more fitted for the larger cut, and due to my fabric hoarding, I have enough of this fur left over to make another one that will actually fit me, and I actually plan on fitting that project in sometime here in the near future in between my other scheduled projects. So this pattern is no longer in print with Simplicity, but it is available on Amazon. I saw quite a few copies. I saw quite a few copies on Etsy, and I also found copies on eBay. So if this is something that you would like to make, definitely get your hands on that. I think I said earlier it is lined. I made mine with the faux fur that I had purchased at Joann Fabrics, and I lined it with crepe back satin. So, you know, those fabrics are always available in the stores. So for the next pattern that I want to share, This is a pattern that I have also made before, and this is Simplicity 1499. The pattern description for this is Mrs. Vest and headband in 3 sizes, but I really think that it should say 3 views. I think that was a misprint. This vest can be made with a symmetric or asymmetric zip front, or you can have it as an open front, and all of the views have pockets, front patch pockets, and as a bonus you can add a stylish matching headband. This pattern was so super easy to make because when I made it with some Burberry fleece fabric that I purchased from Vogue Fabrics in Chicago, and all I had to do was pretty much just like cut it out. There wasn't like a whole lot of front and back in it, and you know, turn this in, turn this out. You know, it was basically you cut it out, put the front, you know, sections and sides together, and then you finish it off with bias tape. The view that I made is the same view that the model is wearing, which is view A, and the hardest part of making this view is installing the zipper. However, if you're a beginner and you are not, you know, familiar with zippers, you can always make view C. Okay, you don't have to make it with the zipper. Now, when I made this as a Christmas gift for someone, so if I can get photos sent to me, I will insert one for you all to see. If not, I will pull some photos from Instagram so you can see other views. But yeah, I think it's a great pattern. Now on to how to make this glam. The fabric choice. Most of the time it's the fabric choice. I happened to find some well-known brand name fabric, like I said earlier, which was the Burberry. So this vest immediately went from mediocre to glam or fashionable, and on top of that I glammed it up even more by making her a matching headband, and I also put the bias tape on the headband, and I thought that that really topped it off. She looked very trendy. You know, the Burberry was like really popping at that time, so yeah, it was really nice. I do plan to make this for me in between my scheduled sewing projects as well, so please be on the lookout. You know, this, like I said, was so easy, and you know, even if I just piece it up, you know, day by day, it will be done soon because that's how few steps it takes to get this completed. This pattern is an older pattern, but it is still available in the Joys at Joann's and Hobby Lobby, and you can get this from the Simplicity website. So next up on the sewing chopping block is Simplicity 8219. I love every view within this pattern, but view D, that's the one right there that is going to be your showstopper. Okay, however, each one of these views can be glammed up, and I will touch on that in a second. But the pattern description for this is Mrs. Jackets with length and fabric variations and a fur vest. So again, view D, which is the fur vest, is what gives me top shelf glam. Okay, this vest does look cropped, so when I make it, I know that I will need to lengthen it, especially with me having a bigger bust, because that make it even shorter. And I know that once I lengthen it, it will be perfect. This vest pattern takes very little fabric as it is, and it's a very perfect pattern for transitional weather. In my opinion, this is another, like I said, top shelf look. And I just love the fur look. So, you know, anything that has fur on it is going to get my attention. The previous fur vest that I shared was nice and simple with no shaping, but although this design is still simple, there's a little more detail within the lines because you are like actually attaching the collar, and there's like curves to the opening, but at the same time there's not a whole lot going on there where it takes away from the beautiful fur. So again, it's still simple, but it's also a little bit more spruced up than the previous one. Views A and B have suggested fabrics listed as minky fleece, and ponte, but the model is wearing what looks like Sherpa. I think that the Sherpa for these views is brilliant, and it makes the look even more glammed up than just wearing it in like a fleece, which makes it look basic and we're not basic or I'm not basic. I have looked at different Sherpa fabrics at Joann's, and there's cheetah print Sherpas, zebra print Sherpas, all different types of animal prints, and you know, just designs. There's camo Sherpa, so you can definitely get a variety of Sherpas outside of a solid color. So if you make this view out of Sherpa, and you know, it'll be nice, but you can top it off by putting a belt around it, well, you know, like a brooch type thing in the front. Yeah, you can really make this work for you. So loving it. I have not made this pattern, but I will show you some examples of it being made up from posts on Instagram as well, so that you can get a visual. And this pattern came out in 2019, and it is still available in the drawers at Joann's and Hobby Lobby, and you can also purchase this from the Simplicity website. Now on to the next pattern, which is Simplicity 9372. This is the perfect transitional pattern because this pattern is loaded with shrugs, and the bonus is a dress. The pattern description is Mrs. Knit dress and shrugs. So when making this, you will need to make sure that your fabric stretches. So let's talk about the shrug options that this pattern offers. This pattern has 4 different shrugs that you can make to cover up during the transition of seasons. There's one that like reminds me of a bolero, one that is a pullover that stops mid-chest and has long sleeves with like a turtleneck, and one that has like a front cover with ballooned puffy type sleeves, and one that is a crossover wrap. Now, not only is this pattern good for the transitional seasons, but I would use these wraps to take into the movie theater or a restaurant to keep the chill away, because it's always cold in those places, or even for taking a walk in the evening, you know, or sitting at the park in the evening or something like that, or even at the beach, you know. To glam this style up, all you need to do is wear it with something that is also glam and make it in an above average fabric. That's all you have to do. I have not made this before, but as you can see, I have the pattern because I love wearing cardigans, and these options of the shrugs kind of remind me, or I feel like they're in the same family with cardigans. That's just my opinion. But I do plan on making a couple of these views at some point, and I will keep you posted when I do. This pattern came out in 2021, and it's still available at your Joann's and Hobby Lobby and the Simplicity website. So for this last pattern that I'm going to share, I have made this pattern before, okay, and I am telling you, this went over so well, really well. The pattern is McCall's 8241. This was so easy to put together. I actually cut the pattern out. I cut the fabric and I sewed the garment up all in one morning, which is not typical for me because I like to break up the steps in my projects so that I'm like doing the cutting one day, I'm doing the sewing one day, but I did it all in one day and I got it done in no time, okay? So the pattern description is Mrs. Tops, but let's be real. This looks like a poncho. I don't really know why I call it a top, but anyway, it's Mrs. Tops, but in my opinion, it's a poncho. You will need a moderate stretch knits such as sweater knits, French terry, sweatshirt fleece, or cotton knit, but I made mine out of chenille. Why, you ask? Because I wanted it to scream glam, and glam it screamed. The chenille fabric kind of reminds you of like a, not a crocheted or a knitted type of fabric, but it has a sheen on it and it just has a beautiful drape, and I'm telling you, it just took that look to another level. There were a lot of sewists that made a garment from this pattern because the Sew Your View on Instagram used this pattern for one of their monthly challenges, and because of that I was able to see this pattern made up in all different types of fabrics. And I will say from seeing those different makes that the fabric choice really does make a difference on whether this garment is going to be glam or basic. Not that there's anything wrong with being basic, That's just, you know, not my personality. If you want it to be basic, you know, you definitely do that. But I'm just giving you glam tips, okay? There are 3 different views to this pattern. And view A has a no turtleneck. It has a straight hem and appears to be the shortest of all views. View B, which is the view that I made, has like a curved hem and a turtleneck. And view C has a straight hem with a turtleneck, and it also instructs you on how you can add tassels. I will say for views B and C, you will need to add interfacing to the turtleneck if you use a drapey fabric like mine, because your turtleneck will be floppy, which is an issue I had. Okay, I didn't know that was going to happen. However, it's still very wearable and it looks intentional. I just personally wanted mine to stand up. Now, although this pattern is beyond great, there is a warning to this. This pattern runs so super duper big, unbelievably big. I made a large and it felt like I could have made a small. Yes, meaning I could go down 2 sizes and I would have been okay. Many people that posted this had the same issue. So if you decide to make this, keep that in mind, okay? This pattern came out in 2021 and it is still available at Joann's and Hobby Lobby and the Something Delightful website. Well, that is it for my 5 glam must-have transitional outwear patterns. I truly hope that if you were looking for an easy pattern to make that you could add to your closet, that one of these 5 spoke to you. Please let me know which pattern you like most and why in the comment section below, as I would love to hear your thoughts. I am now getting ready to close out this video, but before you leave, you already know what I'm going to say. Please take a pause for the cause and click the like button and the subscribe button and the gray notification bell so that you can be notified of future videos. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all of my returning subscribers for your support, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.